Well, court hearing in Kelsey's been put off to Wednesday. We got a little sneaky peeky, Michael Bryant, of what the Commonwealth plans to say about her shooting of Mr. Noonan.
It's just a touch, and it is not Fashion Friday. And no, Linda, this is not a reflection of my poor fashion sense. That means somebody is deliberating on a case. Of course, it's the Richins case, and we're going to get into all the closing arguments.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
Where is justice? Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
Justice when we see it. To be and down may I lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. Listener clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
Well, all righty then. Happy Monday.
Well, Monday's happy. I don't know. It's drizzly and dark and
It's really kind of a gray
We're gonna
day.
have a big storm coming. I can't wait for the warm weather.
This is, and it was like 60 degrees, in the ahead of this big storm that's coming. This is like a California horrible winter day, 60 and drizzly. Oh my gosh, how do we survive? Hey, before we get too far into this, let me thank Erica for her $100 donation. Thank you for your dedication. Keep up the fight.
Erica.
I love you both. So
Thank you, Erica. That really is so
And I only do
important.
that because I've been known to repeat myself many times, but that was not out of disrespect.
And let me say this: I put up a poll earlier. It's kind of like really, it was four questions at the time. How long will the jury deliberate in KOURI RICHINS? Because as you know, they went out at 4:47.
About an hour ago. Yep.
Yeah, about 4:47 our time. So I put 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and 4 hours or more, which means, basically they'll be back tomorrow or they'll be back tonight. So we already have almost 300 votes. 1 hour was 1%, but we passed that now. 2 hours, you're still within that time frame, 7%. 3 hours, 14%, and 4 hours or more, 78%. So go vote. Let's see.
And I think
whether
part
it's
of
going
that
to be a tomorrow verdict.
Is a thoroughness that I expect the 8 jury members will be thorough, and we can talk about how that whole process played out. Yes, I said 8, but they've got a number of charges to look at. They've got the attempted aggravated murder, they have the aggravated murder, they have the fraud counts. So there's a lot of things that they should be taking a look at. So
which leads me to just one little thing. I just want to put this up because the 4 alternates, by the way, turn out to be women. Okay. And the defense, when they did their closing argument, don't let anyone pressure you. Don't let anyone pressure you. And here they have all the men, possibly there's a woman here, an older woman here.
A woman sitting at the table.
Yeah, but there's a young woman sitting at the table. And look, men are all leaned over her. And I'm not sure if this is an older woman here. But what was that? Some kind of subliminal message to say, if you're female, you could be pressured by the men. I think women hate her. I think it's the other way around.
I got to ask, where is this? It looks like a Norman Rockwell. Is this what is this exactly?
It said, I don't. It came from the defense closing when she closed at the very end.
Oh.
Okay, she used this slide. It went by very quickly. And it says jury room. You can't see that because whoever did it, they didn't turn the slide. The slide obviously went the other way. All right,
obviously, it was done by the Canton PD, and they have it inverted.
Very good. I kept it. I just pulled it off. The East Idaho News was running commentary and was running all the slides from both sides as they were doing this. So I just pulled it into my computer and put it up. I was going to use it later, but since you talk about the jury and since we now know 4 of the women are alternates on the 8-person jury.
Yeah. So do we know? We don't know the makeup of the other 8. For those who have been keeping better tabs on that, I never really saw any sort of list. X number of men, racial breakdown. I never saw that. So if the 8 remaining, are they mostly women? Few women? What's the deal? Here's this picture, and I agree it's a sexist picture. I get that. But having said that, there are people that are, and we've talked about it before, I always called them the sheep and the wolves. This is the sheep. Okay. Well, I don't care what the sex is. That's the sheep. And there is that kind of, may not be that overt, the pressure.
She's not the sheep. She's clearly, they're trying to convince her to clearly change her opinion. But yes, it is like women, but I just think that they may have had this one backwards.
Hey, who knows? I mean, it looks like, just look at those clothes. It looks like the 50s.
Yeah, it does look like a Norman Rockwell type thing, but I don't know if he did play a painting called Jury Room. So our chat will now look it up. Okay, you can actually take this picture and you could put it through reverse Google. I didn't have time to do that because I was too busy pulling other things, getting ready for the show. And yes, hi everybody in chat. By the way, please subscribe, like, share, notify. We are told that if everybody in the chat hits the like button, that's what's so important to the YouTube algorithm. That so if you have 800 people watching, they would like 800 likes. That means that you're popular, you're liked, what you're saying is good. So if
and they'll promote us. That's the key. And they'll
promote us, right?
Promotion is the key. And by that it just means the YouTube bots direct us to people who might not normally know anything about us, because we are the best kept secret in true crime. Okay, so massive shenanigans, right? That's Sheila actually. Hi Sheila. Massive Shenanigans is right above that. Right, it's a Norman Rockwell. Okay, so there you go. Michael Bryant wins a cup. They call it 12 Angry Men, but there's a woman. Wouldn't it be called 11 Angry Men then?
I do think this person may be an older woman, but it's I can't really tell. We'd have to blow. I'd have to see the original. Okay, so anyhow, I'll take this off, but how can you vote? Okay, how can you vote? Asked Yaya. You go on to, and I can't bring it up. You go on to our Justice Served TV YouTube page, okay? And there will be a category, posts. There'll be home, videos, shorts, live, podcasts, playlists, and posts. If you hit on post, up will come the jury poll. It's right there. It's the top of the post. So again, I don't know if I can take a screenshot of where this. Let me see. I may be able to. Hold on. If I could take a screenshot.
How to.
Well,
while you're doing that,
it's very confusing.
Here's the whole hype thing. This is the how to do the hype. You can only do that on the replay. So we like the hypes, and if you make the time and effort to figure out how to do it, do that on the replays.
Okay. So here's your how to. Oh, that's the wrong one. Remove that. Remove. I have to remove what's on the stage right now, which is it doesn't want to go anywhere. It doesn't like being taken off the stage. And this should tell you. This should add to the stage. All right. So if you go on the Justice Served TV YouTube, okay, our logo is above there. Here it is. You see that? Home, videos, shorts, live, podcast, playlist, posts. Under post is the poll, and then you can go vote on the poll. Okay.
There it is.
Is that good? Okay. I'm going to take it off.
So anyway, 8 people get to make the decision. Impressive that for the length of this trial, which I think was 4.5 weeks. We had a little couple of hiccups along the way.
15 days. Today was day 15.
Yeah, day 15. But we did have a couple of hiccups, so it was like 3+. It was into the 4th week. Today is obviously Monday, and so they're one of the few jurisdictions to go with 8, which is interesting. I mean, unanimous is unanimous. Federal courts, in a lot of cases, are 6. Florida, all but capital cases are 6. So anyway, there are 8, and I'm impressed that the 4 alts hung in there for the duration. Now they didn't know they were alts, right? The court announced it at the end. That's what I say is always, and even the Judge Merzak said, that's I
love him. I
hate this part of the process, because he knows these are people who are invested in time and effort and interest and doing the right thing. And he has to say, well, thanks for playing our game. We'll see you later. And he reinforces that you're still, on duty, because if something happens to the 8th during deliberation, we're going to be reaching out to you. And don't talk to anybody. Don't do any research. Don't look into anything. Don't listen to anybody till you hear from me personally. So, you get a call from the judge, normally not something you want to hear, but he's going to call and say, you're now released from your service. Or he might call and say, get down here. And it was 9, 10, 11, and 12. Obviously, the last 4 put in the box that were the alts. And I would imagine they will be contacted in that order if somebody is needed. So
yeah, it's interesting. Most places are still 12. I mean, there's been constitutional questions all along the United States, like New Orleans, Louisiana try to do away with 12, and Oregon try to do away with 12, and most times the voters have rejected it. So this must be in the Constitution that there's 8.
Yeah, yeah, and they don't seem to make a distinction with the type of case like they do in Florida. So remember, Florida for a while didn't even need to be unanimous for the death penalty.
Yeah, and this was also
they changed that.
They changed that, and this was also interesting too. And I think I texted you about it, Michael, when it happened, right? As the jurors were entering the jury room, one juror handed a note to the deputy. Yeah. Apparently, it said, "I quote, I thought we were supposed to be handed a factual stipulation before we received the case." And apparently, the judge did give them that factual stipulation. He did. It was a written document.
He did prior to that note being handed.
After the note.
After. So you had to be reminded. Well, the jury keeping the judge straight, keeping him on his toes.
And I don't remember what the stipulation was, quite frankly. Can you?
It's one of those things that it's usually a joint statement. Everybody agrees to it, and then it's read to prospective jurors. I'm assuming it's the exact same one that is then given to them as they go off to deliberate.
Yeah.
Why would you have a separate one? Makes no sense. Has to be very neutral. Just the facts, ma'am. But I think it is funny that a juror had to say, "Judge, come on, let's go." Let's go.
Well, it shows you they're into it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
They're into it.
Okay, so you want to do some quick little Kelsey Fitz Simmons tidbits and then get into the closing arguments from Richins?
Yes, I would like to do that. I just need to send a text, Michael Bryant.
Well, you
and
get
it's the most important. It's the most important thing in the world. It's from 2B's vet. Okay.
Okay.
Can you call her back? And the reason why 2B had his annual physical, because he's going to have to go get his teeth cleaned. You know, in dogs, they usually put dogs under anesthesia. 2B's never had his teeth cleaned, and they do a whole $2,000 workup.
Oh,
I mean, okay, in New York City. All right. I mean, I'm going to need another case, right, just for 2B, right? But his thyroid. His thyroid came back low, and so we have to check. Then they had to check it, take his blood, and then check to see the other hormones to see whether it was like one off or is he really just starting to get low thyroid. So as you all know, everybody, he's going to turn 5 in May. Yes, so it's about the time between 4 and 7 that could show up. So excuse me for coming.
All right,
having to send that text, but I have to send that text.
Yes. So the first thing in Kelsey Fitzsimmons, they moved the status conference that was going to be today. They moved that to Wednesday. Okay. Don't know if that means nothing or everything. It is the pretrial confirmation. It's we used to call in California the go-go conference. You know, just so that everybody. This is it. This is it. Last chance for this thing not to go. So the go-go conference. So that's now on Wednesday, and then the Commonwealth slipped in a little something.
Yeah, 10:30 in the morning. By the way, 10:30 Wednesday.
Yeah, 10:30 Wednesday. If you care to go, we may stream it. We may not. I have a feeling if they put this motion together, it's a motion in limine, and I think I have it here somewhere. Let me pull it up.
We're going to come back to KOURI, by the way. We haven't forgotten.
Yeah, we will. We're going to spend most of our time on that. We just wanted to get into a couple of little tidbits here on Fitzsimmons as we, continue to rocket toward that. Okay, and I've got this is going to be on a 2-pager, so bear with me as we get to the first one here. So it says 3 pages. Don't believe that. The signature page is really about all there is on the final page. A little more. I need to grow this. Need to grow this a little bit. There we go. Okay. So now, before you get all excited, wondering what the texts are that we're about to talk about, they've been impounded. Commonwealth asked the court to admit text messages between the defendant and former fiance Justin the alien on June 30th, the day of the event, right? Mm-hmm. See Exhibit 1. That's been impounded. The texts are admissible to prove the defendant's motive and state of mind. Okay. As an initial matter, the defendant's text messages, even if admitted for their truth, are not hearsay because they are statements of a party opponent. I don't disagree with any of those things, and my gut says these are coming in. I haven't seen them though.
Yeah.
Just based on these arguments, I would say, well, yeah, I think they're making a decent argument to bring them in. However,
I don't know if they're making a decent argument, but they're making an argument. We could argue about that.
Well, I think what not having seen the text, I think on its face, it's just it's a decent argument. It's not I don't think it's frivolous, but I got to see the text to see what's really happening. However, the Commonwealth is seeking to admit the text not for their truth, but to prove the defendant's motive and state of mind, which I think we could all agree is relevant. Determination of the relevance, probative value, and prejudice of such evidence are left to the sound discretion of the judge, whose decision to admit such evidence will be upheld absent clear error. So that's the law, and that's why I think, okay, fine, based on the law, this case, the importance of that day, yeah, okay, so the court's going to have to make a decision. Let me pull up the bottom part of the motion, and again, without the text, it's
page 2. Yeah, but I know without the text, it's not. I have really strong feelings about this just because of one of the arguments they make, one line on page 2.
Okay, I will try to shorten the suspense. Okay, I think we can go one more notch. There we go.
There you go.
In this case, the texts demonstrate that the defendant was aware that her relationship with the alien was in dire jeopardy. Her texts from June 30, 2025 alternate between hostile and pleading. Therefore, when the defendant heard the alien in the residence, now we're going to talk a lot about why in the hell he was in the residence. When the defendant heard the alien in the residence, she acted out of anger and desperation when she pointed the gun at Patrick Noonan and pulled the trigger.
Okay, this is where I am. I'm going on Linda mode rant here. Okay, so what they're saying, this is their now motive for the pointing the finger. She is such a wackadoo job, and she is so hostile and so pleading that this relationship is off that she just recklessly picked up that gun and pointed it at Noonan. What, was she hallucinating like AI that was Justin the alien when she heard him? What are they talking about here? What are they talking about? Her defense is that she picked up the gun to kill herself, not that she picked up the gun to point it at Noonan. So what they're saying is, you woman, you postpartum baby mother woman, are so not in control of your emotions because your relationship was breaking up, because obviously he was the most important thing in the world to you, that you then pointed a gun at your former partner. Excuse me, but this sucks. And if I were using a different word, I would have a different beginning instead of the S.
You would have an F, I get you. I disagree to a certain level. Yeah, they're using whatever they can to dirty her up. We knew that. We knew that was coming. That's not a big shock. But if I have a case in which the defense is saying that she wasn't trying to kill somebody else, she's trying to kill herself, I'm going to use anything I can to make it less likely she was trying to kill herself and more likely she was mad about the process and the alien and willing to stop anybody in her way. I think there's a perfectly reasonable argument. I don't buy it, but I think that is a perfectly reasonable argument. I'm not just going to say, hey, they think she's a crazy woman, therefore. I don't make that leap.
I make that leap. That's what this says. She's a crazy woman, just totally upset about the breaking up of a relationship with a man she loved. He was a shit. He just took the baby from her. You know, I mean, we have maybe we have a different viewpoint being male and female. This is an interesting thing.
I think we end up at the same conclusion, but my analysis is a little less emotional. Sorry.
I am very emotional about this. And when I'm in that courtroom, I would be very emotional about it too.
I'm sure. And maybe somebody would appreciate that. Maybe somebody wouldn't. I don't know. We'll see what the judge has to say, because that's the argument they're going to be making. I think you could also argue that she's mad because he's there, because of what happened in the last 20 minutes that she'd learned he had done. So that anger can be supported by these texts, whatever they may be.
So what? She transfers intent to pick up the gun and shoot Noonan, who was her partner?
Well, he became an obstacle to getting to the alien.
She wasn't going downstairs to get already taken her baby. I mean, he's in the basement.
You don't know where she was going. You have no idea where she was going. You have no idea.
I don't think she was going anywhere. That's why
I can say you don't think she was going downstairs, but neither of us have any idea where she was going or what she was trying to do. We don't.
I think this is bullshit. This is just a dirty. This is just to try to dirty up a being, and I think it's going to backfire. I mean, if we want to talk about whether there's going to be a judge or a jury, boy, if I'm now Tim Bradl, I'd go for the jury, and I'd take every single woman I can get on that jury.
Yeah, I don't think there is going to be a bench trial. I think that was an interesting little side trip, but no, I don't think so. I still think the same problem exists for the prosecution, and that's nobody knows what the hell happened. Nobody knows. You've speculated based on what you think they're going to try and do. I've speculated based on what I think is more reasonable under the circumstances, but nobody knows.
Wait,
nobody knows.
Wait. The first version that they try to present to the jury is that she picked up the gun to intentionally murder Noonan. She was charged with murder before the grand jury. So
the grand jury wouldn't go for it, though. The grand jury said no.
The grand jury wouldn't go for that story. They wouldn't go for story 2. Let's now go to story 3. She's such an emotional woman because she heard Justin how that she picked up the gun and she shot Noonan. Oh, dear me.
Let me finish this to see if there's anything here.
Let me wipe the tears from my brow.
The texts are also relevant to put the assault in context. The prosecution is entitled to present a full picture as possible of the events surrounding the incident itself, cite to Bradshaw. In this case, the texts demonstrate that the defendant's relationship with the alien was already in the process of devolving, even prior to the service of the restraining order.
Sure, she kicked him out of the house. Of course it was. Oh.
Well, it says prior to the service of the
restraining order. She kicked him out of the house. That's why he wasn't living there.
So
I got to see what out the door.
I got to see what the texts say. Therefore, the Commonwealth requests permission to use the text in its case in chief, subject to an appropriate limiting instruction. Well, I don't know what the limiting instruction would be because they've said it's not being used for the truth of the matter, and even if it is, it's a statement by a party opponent. So,
I mean, our chat loves it when mom and dad are fighting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just think I'm not going to pigeonhole that as tightly as you are. I think there are ways that it could be used.
What? Gubitosi has ways to use it. I mean, this is the same prosecutor who didn't say a goddamn word when Kelsey was going to jail with Judge Catherine Naaman McCarthy, and then took the position she should stay in jail. We want to give him any credit of filing any papers that are worthwhile. I don't give him any credit. I don't think he deserves that. I don't think he has earned it.
That makes me wonder, did that have a signature on it? I already put it down. Did that have a signature?
I think it did have a signature somewhere, but it doesn't matter. It's his case. It doesn't matter who signed these papers because he's the lead attorney. Okay.
I think she should be the lead attorney. I've seen them both in action. I don't see it. Okay. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I don't think you can assume the jury will feel the way you do either. That's a mistake. Don't do that.
This is a mistake. I mean, I don't know what they've got in the text. What does the text say? If you step foot in this house, I'm going to kill Noonan. Show me that text,
I like
and then that could be relevant.
That's a good one. I'll kill everybody in my way to get to you. How about that text?
I don't think she said that.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean, I think we would have heard that leaked in the family court matter. I think that text would have been leaked. Okay.
We're going to find out, or we're not.
Or we're not.
Because
right.
Wednesday, I believe there will be some conversation about it. But
you just got me. I'm just so crying about the fact she tried to kill. Boo-hoo, you Commonwealth. I mean, this is what I would say to my trial team too, to get them all worked up, to say, this is how we're going with this. All right. We're not giving this any credibility.
All right. One more thing. And that's really from last Friday, really, when the alien was suspended. Everybody was cheering. Everybody was so excited that the alien was suspended. So that means that somebody is listening to what's out there. Somebody at the North Andover Fire Department. They aren't just blowing it off. Which, for those of us who have seen what happens in Massachusetts in various locales, almost a surprise that they did what I think most people would believe is the right thing. They're not adjudicating him; they're just suspending him while they find out what actually is going on.
Find out whether or not he's going to give him a chance. Did you actually smoke while you were on duty or on the job?
Or did you come to work impaired?
Were those really? And they know they can't prove whether they were, right? They can't prove it. So this is all,
Whether
as
what
far as
were?
I'm whether this were drugs, right? So as far as I'm concerned, this is all a bullshit sham to suspend him with pay while this all goes on. And then when things like, go away, the good old boy network would say, hey, come back to work. Time to come back to work.
Well, they
We're
know
just
they
going
can't
to
get
tap
away
you
with
on the
that.
wrist.
They can't get away with that now. They can't.
Yes, they can, because they can't, because no one can prove what he was smoking.
Yeah, we talked about that before. I don't think anybody's going to have any doubt what he was smoking.
Unless they take his hair, which maybe they will.
Maybe they will. And we know that in the family court, that's one of the requests. If continuing visitation / custody stays as it is, it's got sole custody of this baby, then they want, drug testing basically by taking hair samples. So will his employer do the same thing? I don't know about that. But their rules are not just where smoking wacky tobacco. They're not supposed to smoke anything. They're firefighters. They're not supposed to smoke.
Right. And that's not to protect you, the person whose house they're going into. That's to protect their fellow brethren, that they're going into a burning house, and that no one is impaired. That's what that's to protect. And it's as well it should be.
Of course. Of course. It's all the gloves are off, as they say. The real question is who's got, the stuff we saw relating to the alien is damning stuff. Does the Commonwealth have anything? They certainly write a motion like they think they do. We'll see.
Well, what did Tim say? To win a war,
I did say, and I haven't gotten a response yet, but I was curious if there had been any, if you put yourself in the Commonwealth's position right now, I asked if there had been any plea discussions that they would care to talk about.
Good
something
question.
like attempted assault on a police officer or simple assault, something that is a true total misdemeanor, time served, not an issue. I don't know. I asked, I want to hear an answer. I'm not sure I'll get one, but I think those are the kinds of discussions that when I saw they moved the hearing, that was the first thing that popped in my head, that maybe they were, exploring. I don't know.
Yeah.
Got to ask.
Okay, well, we'll see. 10:30 on Wednesday. I'm not sure where we're going to be streaming it, but we'll certainly be talking about it. By the way, Wednesday, when we talk about that, what will happen that morning, we'll also have two special guests on. One, Judge Ashley Wilcott, who used to be a host of Court TV before that of Law and Crime, who is a judge involving children's rights. She's a judge adjudicating children's rights. So we want to know the effect on the baby, who is the real victim in this, and taking the baby away from Kelsey. And she's going to talk about it.
Yep. She's got to have so much experience with experts and families in this same scenario, what kind of damage is happening to the baby, to the relationship with the mom. And that doesn't even take into account what is clearly not the best situation at home where she is now.
Right.
But if you could paint him as, father of the year, that might be a little different. I don't see it. I think mom, the alien's mom, I think is doing most of the heavy lifting there. And that's not fair to the baby either.
Yeah. Right. And we're also going to have Tracy Pauls on, who's going to talk about the internet addiction case. Basically, our focus is going to be on children, on the child Wednesday, because obviously, even though it's Kelsey Fitzsimmons' case that we're going to hear the final arguments for, and by the way, the jury questionnaire, that final questionnaire that we wanted to talk about, is going to be impounded. I don't understand it if there's no jurors who have answered a question on it.
Yeah, I don't like that either. And, and they were open about the documents provided by each side. Here's what we'd like to see on the jury questionnaire. So is there really anything that's salacious, unanswered, that we can't look at? I don't know. I don't get that. But that's a judge thing. Every judge handles it differently. So
yeah. All right. So that's just to let you know that is in the works for Wednesday. We picked actually a good day to talk about the child, right?
Yeah. And for those who may not recall, the case out in California is the case against Meta, basically saying that these social media outlets are crafting their product to hook kids, in a nutshell. So, and that one does the jury have that yet, or it's about to go to the jury?
I think, I don't know. I think the jury was supposed to get it. Okay. So maybe we'll have a verdict by then. All right. So that's the update on Kelsey. We decided not to do a rip and read because we thought this was much more important. Kelsey was our rip and read and more read. And speaking about read, we'll be doing read tomorrow night. Just so you know, because those papers were filed that are just woo! We will have a local attorney, Massachusetts criminal law attorney Michael Del Signore, another fan favorite, on to discuss that with us.
Yeah, it's a very long amended complaint, but the core idea was to add in, I'll call them the government defendants.
Oh, we don't need rip and read tomorrow because this is salacious.
It's a lot of stuff, a lot of writing, a lot of stuff that it's very interesting and educational. Whether or not it would normally be in a complaint, that's a different story. But in this particular case, everything seems to be shared, and it is a federal case, and it's about 54 pages of no exhibits, just 54 pages of on and on and on.
So get your reading glasses on, and we're going to have some fun tomorrow night as we go to salaciousness and really some very interesting things on Wednesday night. But tonight we still have, and I'm going to remind you before we get back to KOURI, or as someone called her, a spider, or as the defense said, you stole my client, an insect.
The Black Widow. Yeah. So there was another motion for mistrial. We'll get into that. We're going to do basically some true crime roulette. You have a couple of
I have a couple of things I want to talk about before
we get into
let's look at where our poll is right now. 78% of you think it's going to be 4 hours or more. You're still within the 3-hour time limit at 14%. 2 hours, 7%. We got 20 more minutes before that, and 1 hour's passed. That was 1%. That was kind of like a throwaway, but there were some people that were so adamant. Let's remember, and the prosecution began with this. Let's remember what the charges. Whoops, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. I apologize. These things get a little bit. The charges were against her. And when I first saw Mr. Bloodsworth opening today, I was like, this is going to be a long closing. His opening of his closing, because he had all these PowerPoint slides with on it. But the charges were murder, attempted aggravated murder, insurance fraud, and forgery. So we're not going to go through all the subcategories of what he had to prove, but just let's remember that's why it could take a little longer, because it's not just. I think if they find one, they're going to find all, because motive, means, and opportunity certainly.
There's no way they're going to find insurance fraud and not murder.
Not murder.
It's not going to happen. Let me say something about Mr. Bloodworth. I remember early on when he had done his opening, and I was kind of like, I don't know, his voice might kind of be grating. I like this guy a lot.
I do too.
I could see this guy, and he does this whole closing, not a note in hand. He's got a lot of PowerPoint to work off of if he wants. But nothing, and he's it was like watching an episode of Law and Order. I mean, really, it was like this guy is like a guest star on Law and Order, and he's doing, they don't get as much time as he got. And he did it very efficiently, I thought. He broke it in half. He had an intermission, which was interesting.
And he had the great line, which is the one I thought he should have opened with. He actually opened with, it was like he showed this big slide, but then he opened with this great line. He wanted to leave Eric Richins, but didn't want to leave his money. I would have actually opened with that line and then gone into the charges. I thought that was solid. A great line, a solid line. I did too. When we first heard him initially, we were like, oh. I really grew to like him. I was actually unhappy when he sat down.
Well, that's because you knew, Ms. Lewis was coming.
Well, I love defense attorneys. I mean, what we do is very difficult, and I know they have a difficult time, and they obviously have a difficult case, and they have a difficult client here. But sometimes you as a lawyer, you got to make the jury like you, even though your client is difficult, And how many times have we had jurors?
Underestimate the power of likability.
Likability. And then, so we have some other things that we're going to listen to, because I think, all right, if I'm voting right now, I would have been like probably within the hour, okay? Because I was like guilty. And for me,
you would have gone through everything to make sure you had done your job. You wouldn't have just gone in there and straw poll, guilty, let's get the hell out of here.
Okay, so here was the text I missed that would have got me guilty. If someone is poisoned, then of course it's misspelled, which is perfectly me. Anyone who knows me and texting and keyboarding, I can't do it, the thing. Okay, blame it on these. All right, is poisoned, and this is in April of 2022. This is right after Eric is, in my opinion, murdered. Okay, if someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? Okay, if someone is poisoned, no one had even mentioned poisoning yet, right? And she's doing that, and then
just a random question. Don't make more than it is. Just the
problem is it was all these other random questions, like, can the FBI find deleted messages? Okay, these are also random questions. All right, here's a signs of being under federal investigation. Here's some more that, like, I was like, okay,
when does the FBI get involved in a case?
Right, I can go put that back on. Let's see. Here was some more here. How long does life insurance companies take to pay? This is the best. Luxury prisons for the rich in America.
Yeah, that one wasn't my favorite. I did like that one. And people have been asking, is she going to go to, some, hoity-toity, camp? No, she will not.
So anyhow, so those were, I was like, I had actually missed this one. Okay. I had actually missed this one when it was being told. I had missed that. If I had that one, if I had seen that, and that wasn't in 2023, this was right after he was killed. If I had seen that, that's when your brain says, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem.
And then
here.
I think she also asked, is it possible to change the manner or the cause of death on a death certificate?
Yeah.
Is that in there? I remember that one too. Is that in there?
Right. Can the manner of death be changed on the death certificate?
And it can be, but sounds like wishful thinking.
And remember, a lot of the texts that the prosecution published what were they? They were deleted. Okay.
Yeah, they got all of them. All of them were on his phone, on Eric Richins' phone. None of them on hers, because she had deleted them all. Right. I'm sure that was just an accident.
And including other people's. That's how they get right, including other people's. And then it turns out those three things that the prosecutor opened with, the defense tried to say Eric Richins had texted them. No, that was a lie. And you, as a defense attorney, the only thing you have, Michael, is your ability to tell the jury and believe you. Okay.
What do we always say? We always say at the end of a trial, go back and see if either side has provided what they promised. And he did a great job of ticking off at least 6 things that they promised and did not deliver. That is deadly. That is just, not only is this defendant guilty, but her attorneys are lying to you about what this case provides.
Deadly. I always get a transcript of the opening statement of the other side. I always get a transcript. Great idea. And then I'm like on the big board. Okay, here it is in black and white. I didn't say it. Here it is. Okay, you don't even need to be fancy and high tech about it. Although I did have to look up Moscow Mule, because my drinking is not really. That's right. When you
have to
order,
defer to my expertise on drinking.
When you order Shirley Temple,
those are weird drinks. Ginger beer. And
it was made
sauce, I think, is one thing in there.
Moscow Mule's refreshing cocktail made with vodka, spicy ginger beer, and fresh lime juice. Usually served in a copper mug garnished with lime. It's zesty, bubbly, and spicy. And then there was a lemon drop.
And deadly.
And
the lemon drop is a shot.
Not quite.
It's not a shot. You don't shoot
sour
a lemon
vodka.
drop?
A sour vodka-based cocktail served as a martini featuring vodka, lemon juice, triple sec, and simple syrup. Shaken, not stirred. Shaken, where's that from? With ice and served in a sugar-rimmed glass.
Yeah. I got the impression from the way they talked about it, this wasn't a cocktail type lemon drop. It was more like a shot.
No. So. I don't know. I just looked it up. What it is, and then supposedly that's where. And then I had to go to my source, and I had to say, source, who does forensics, source shall be unnamed. Yeah, my husband. I live with him. Yeah. Hi, Michael. I had to go to my source, and I had to say, I don't really want this on my Google searches. So can you, as as a medical examiner.
That is so paranoid.
I know.
What's wrong with you?
Because I don't want to see things come up my Instagram on poisoning and stuff like that.
So somebody's going to start selling you cocktails and
cocktails. I said, what can you smell? Well, cyanide can be smelled and tasted because it smells like almonds, but 40% of the population or something doesn't taste it, can't taste it. The marzipan, and things like that. And then I asked him about heroin. Apparently, heroin, because it was cut with quinine. He had a case once where somebody got murdered because the addicts would smell for quinine, so they didn't smell it. Okay, so they thought that the person was selling them phony stuff and said it was 100% heroin because it wasn't quite. So that you can taste too, because quinine, anyone who's had a drink tonic water or whatever,
kind of bitter kind of.
Yeah. I said, but can you smell fentanyl? He said, well, it comes in small doses, and there's no literature that he knew about whether fentanyl could be smelled. But so she had to get these small pills because remember, after he died, the source of the purchase said, I hope you weren't using those pills to murder your husband, Yeah,
just another passing.
So
okay, so let's look at some of his opening. Before we do that, I want to make a quick comment about jury instructions. What is the number one reason cases are reversed? Jury instructions. And the defense asked for an instruction or a modification of an instruction on spoliation. And it's the only thing that I felt that the prosecution really was not able to do to connect the dots. And that was determine what was in the pill bottle that was empty. Was there any residue of fentanyl? Right. Because that is a hole in there how it happened. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence, tons of direct evidence from the people who acquired the drugs, right? But not how it got into his system. And so she wanted some sort of spoliation because apparently the bottle was thrown in the body bag with Eric Richins and then never seen again. So she wanted something to suggest to the jury that, hey, they were responsible. The prosecution was responsible for that, and they got rid of it. Why? Why did they do that? Well, he didn't give her that.
I don't think he can, because I've had that issue. I've always asked for spoliation, and it has to be intentional. You have to prove intentional.
Well, you also have the disconnect. It wasn't like the prosecution was involved from day one.
Right.
They didn't get into the case till that had already happened.
Right.
So, but again, instructions are the root cause of most appeals being granted. So,
and there was a motion for a mistrial before we look at
yet another. Yes.
There was another motion for mistrial. Did you want to play it? Because I have the 5 reasons. The 5 things we argued.
This is our production meeting, folks. This is it. Let's play and skip through some of the prosecution's whole thing. A little bit here, a little bit there, because it came after the prosecution was done with their closing argument. Okay. So let's just look at a little of that so we can see our law and order in action.
I want to hear about the insect. Oh, I'm dying to talk about the insect.
Hold on a second. Why did my screen go black? That's bizarre.
Yeah, your screen is black. Did you start it?
No, I mean, I'm looking at full picture. So let me re-rack it and see why it just totally disappeared. That is bizarre.
Joy Schmehar said, Joy, one of our mods, Joy, thank you again, one of our new mods, and going to be producer. They said the amount of fentanyl in his body was such a large amount that one dose is the size of a grain of salt. He had multiple grains. Yes, that's correct. He had a huge dose, and a lot of it was still in the stomach, which means some of it had gotten into his bloodstream.
Okay, let's check this out. Let me see if I've got audio here.
Well, I don't hear anything yet.
Okay, wait.
If you hear it, you're the only one who's hearing it.
You're not hearing it?
No.
Okay. Well, all right then.
Let's try that again. They're having that problem for some reason, and when we're pulling in the streams, that somehow they're not playing.
Yeah, I know.
I had that problem the other day.
It's very inconsistent.
Right. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Okay.
You're still getting nothing?
Nothing. There's no sound coming out there, Michael.
That is very odd. Okay, I'm not sure if I have an option that'll help fix that. Well, let's see. Let's try this. Because this is not a it's not a file. This is just a tab. Like we'd bring in anything. Remember the other day we had that issue with when I was live up there in
I want to put this up while you're looking for it. This is Laura Jean Hull. And we've talked about this. We've had shows on addiction specialties. My son died from an overdose of fentanyl and horse tranquilizers. Okay, please get help if you know someone with addiction issues. It's not just you, and that's what I say, that it's the scourge of our society. Everybody has a family member who's got addiction issues or knows somebody who has addiction issues, and it's hard to get them help when they don't want it. The problem is with all these new drugs and all these new analogs, they're making them stronger and stronger and stronger. So people who are addicts don't know what they're buying. They really don't know what they're buying. I read an article that fentanyl is now being laced with something that's 100 times stronger, not the carb fentanyl, not the one for the elephants, but something that's another new analog. And so they'll go and, hydrocodone, forget that. Oxycodone, forget that. That's not even an issue anymore with these fentanyl analogs, and it's terrible. And our heart goes out to you, yes, please preach it to everybody, Lori Jean. If you know somebody who has an addiction, try to get them. Do the best you can.
Let me try one more time here.
Hi, Kyle Sharkey.
Anything?
Nothing. You are batting 0 for sound. So we're going to have to talk about the motion and the 5 reasons. All right.
Yeah, you do that while I continue.
While you keep looking. Okay. So after the prosecutor, there was actually a motion. The prosecutor was actually talking about something that actually was kind of cute and early on, and there was an objection, and the judge told the defense attorney to sit down. Now, I've been in that situation. Usually not. Usually that's what defense attorneys have to do, but he didn't want, it wasn't an issue that really was an important issue. But here were the 5 issues that the defense made an objection on for a mistrial. One was that the prosecution, according to not Nestor, who was the attorney who gave the closing? Lewis, right, who gave the closing. And I don't know what happened to the guy. He was the best attorney of the group after that first day.
That was weird.
They said they called my client an insect. All right, now I don't, you can't call a client an insect. You can't call them whatever. However, what the prosecution was referring to was a previous message with her friend Kelsey, where she says, "I'm going to be labeled as you're going to be labeled as a widow," and then she says,
"Black widow."
A black widow, because her friend called her, "You're going to be labeled as a black widow," and that was what the prosecution was referring to. Was that dialogue where Kelsey says they're going to call me a black widow, referring to the conversation where KOURI says they're going to call me a black widow, referring to the conversation with Chelsea. And the judge said, "Look, that's a rhetorical flourish." And he didn't call her an insect for the purposes of prosecutorial misconduct. It was calling her, playing on the fact that she would be a black widow, which, as we all know, is a spider that can kill its mate and all. And we've seen cases involving black widow killers. All right, but that was the most memorable one for the mistrial. Then she said the prosecution called their client narcissistic. Again, as a prosecutor, you can't do that, okay? But he didn't. He said that there was a narcissistic response or something like that to the effect. I forget what it was, but because the reason is you can't call narcissistic. Not only is it misconduct, but it's expert testimony given by the prosecutor that's not able to give psychiatric expert testimony in his closing argument. He said, no, he was talking about the response. There was a narcissistic response to something. That's all. And that was true. And then there was something with regard to, and it was a narcissistic injury, okay? And it was related to the hearing of the defendant when she was talking about wealth accrual, all right? So the judge said that's permissible.
Okay, then let me try this again here. Hold on. Anything?
Nada. Zilch. Zippo.
Nice.
So while you keep trying, I will keep talking. Something that I'm very good at. All right. Then there was the mistrial motion was for the demeanor, that the prosecutor was commenting on the demeanor in court of KOURI Richins. All right. Now, and that even though it doesn't imply a Fifth Amendment right to keep silent, that the judge decided wasn't a mistrial. It wasn't something that was subject to a mistrial granting motion to grant, but did find that in the spirit of caution to make sure he would give the jury before they took their lunch break, a curative charge where he said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury." Okay. Anything that a prosecutor says, if the prosecutor, if you think that he was commenting on how she looked, he can't do that. He's not going to be doing that. Okay. You, however, so this is what made it even worse. You, however, can look at the defendant and take her emotions and reactions into consideration. So the defense got the curative instruction they want, but then they got the, but you, ladies and gentlemen, the jury,
reminder.
And Couri was like, all day she was making faces. She was, and we've talked about that in our shows leading up to this, that the defense had to get a handle on her to make sure she didn't do that. And that's exactly what she did today. And she looked terrible today. So that was that. Then there was another one that I don't even mention. It was, it was another one that was always irrelevant. And then the fifth one was that there was a misstatement as to count one, in that the prosecution said they didn't need to prove that it was fentanyl. All they needed to prove is that she bought a poison. And the judge said that was perfectly permissible. I mean, that's, you're proving murder here. You don't need to prove the means of the murder. You're just proving the murder. So and the judge denied the motion for a mistrial on those 5 grounds, one of which I didn't even talk to you about because it wasn't worth it.
Well, I wish I could help you out here, but now I've lost everything that I had. It's just gone.
You want to talk for a second, and let me see if we can get the real professionals involved in this.
I mean, okay. I've now actually lost even our main screen here, so I got.
Did you really?
I can't even see you or anything else that's happening.
Boy, Michael, they're batting 1,000 today.
I will tell you that my thought was that she had a decent argument on the reference to looking at the defendant. You shouldn't, as the attorney doing closing argument, say, just take a look at this person, watch how they're reacting, because you're getting dangerously close to, if that person had testified, maybe they could explain some of this, and so in and of itself, is that enough for a mistrial? Obviously not, but I think it's a little much, and to your point, when you get the instruction that's supposed to help your side defense, it hurts your side because it points it out to the jury. They're like, oh, I didn't really notice that, but now that you mention it, she was kind of screwing her face up at times and looking, giving the side eye and rolling her eyes. Yeah, well, thanks for that curative instruction, Judge. Yeah, so you have to be careful, but I do think he pushed it. I think.
Can you hear this?
Eric was also having it.
Look at that.
I can hear it.
Okay, so I can only play roulette with the defense closing because I have to go back and look at this. So you want to play a little roulette with the defense closing, so all of you can go, because I know you love us defense attorneys.
Yeah, let's do that, and I will try to see if I can even see you, because right now this is a radio show for me.
About the relationship, and they can laugh about that, but that's what the text said. And you know what? We do not bring this up to make Eric out to be a bad person. It doesn't matter what he was doing in his personal life. That's not the point. The point is that there were parts of Eric's life that he didn't share with people. Just like he didn't share with Cody that he used marijuana, or even that he took prescriptions. The point is we all have secrets, and Eric had secrets. But back to Josh, the best evidence that Josh was not a motive for Couri to kill her husband is that after Eric died, she never did get together with Josh. She didn't show up at the brunch that they'd planned to celebrate the closing on the Midway Mansion. She didn't go on a vacation with him in April. She never even finished paying for that vacation. Josh told you that Couri changed after Eric's death. That she was grieving. That he saw less and less of her, and ultimately she broke things off.
Yeah, can I stop? Ultimately she broke things off. Sure, because now I want the money myself. I'm not going to share it with you, you fool.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a believable argument. I mean, it's an argument. I don't know if it's believable that she really never intended to get with Josh. Have you seen all those text messages?
I know, but I think she was
if you had to fake it, would you go to those lengths in those text messages? I mean, some of them were like, I need to throw up now. They're just sickly sweet, nasty, over the top. I love you for this. I can't wait to be together forever. That, I mean, the one that made the impression, of course, is the one in which she says, you know, if it were just you and me, you know, that would be just a dream. That would be the way I would love it to be. Well, you know, obviously she was working toward that resolution.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know. I think that once it got a little, you remember she ended up with a lot of money from April through June. She got payouts of the insurance company, money which they're never going to be getting back, I don't think. I don't, even with the Midway Mansion sale. But do you think she really wanted to share it? I mean, I don't think she minds spending it on him and having a good time, but I don't think she wanted
Just
to
having
share
a boy toy.
it.
I don't know, and I do think, I mean, there are ways to trace that money, unless it's just totally, you know, gone. I think that there are ways to try and get that back, and I can't imagine the insurance company is not making an effort to do that.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. All right, so let's see what else we had to say.
By the way, if Couri was as motivated by money as they would have you think, would she really have killed her wealthy husband to run off with the handyman who lived for free in one of her houses?
Yes! The answer is yes!
Yes.
It happens!
Don't ask a question that they can answer against you.
That doesn't fit with the state's theory. The state says, look at texts, replace the words in them with different words. They stood here and made up what was inside people's heads, what they were thinking. The state has to rely on evidence. They have to prove their case, and they can't do that. The state did not prove that Couri killed Eric in order to be with Josh. All right, money. Money's a motive for a lot of things for a lot of people. Was Couri a brilliant businesswoman? No. Was her business struggling? Yes, it was. Was there fake it till you make it? There seemed to be a lot of that going on. Brooke Carrington testified that money was not a priority to Couri Richins. She could have used an accountant, she said. She didn't even use QuickBooks. And this is all true. A young mother trying to run a business, like most young mothers, young working mothers, did her accounting take a backseat to her family? Probably. The state also wants you to believe that Couri was cheating her best friend, but that's not what the evidence showed. The evidence showed that the $45,000 that Chelsea gave to Couri was not earmarked for closing. Okay,
can I just say something? You don't need to say the evidence shows at this point. The evidence shows is when you're in your opening arguments, opening statements. This is a closing argument. You can just say, there was absolutely no proof of that. I mean, you know, the amount of word usage here, you kind of forget the theme, you know? The theme is, did she kill her husband?
And if you have to keep saying the evidence did not show, then it's just not as strong as, you know, she needs to be forceful about it. She's not a very forceful orator, you know?
Right.
The only time that the prosecution referenced the evidence was the defense inability to bring to the jury what they promised in their opening. That's where they were ticking off, evidence didn't show that, evidence didn't show that, no evidence of that. But yeah, generally, it, you know, I don't know if it bothers anybody, but you don't need it.
All right, so let me go ahead. Let me see. Whoop, that's
yeah, I'm not going to stop you on the. Let's.
Okay, this is the rebuttal.
There you go.
Doesn't matter. The evidence is what matters, and there's a reason defense counsel didn't cite you to the evidence. Next slide, Scott. A lot of the evidence is circumstantial. It is. People do not video themselves poisoning their spouse. But circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct evidence. You can use circumstantial evidence to conclude fact just as you can use direct evidence. The instruction gives the example of it is wet outside and people are closing up their umbrellas. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Let me put it to you a different way. Does everybody know what happened here?
That's a dangerous question. I don't know everything that happened.
Chose Carmen Lauber. The state didn't. Hold on, let me check. Kouri Richins chose common law, but not the state. Go ahead, Scott. Thanks. Kouri Richins chose common law because she was the drug dealer she knew. The state granted common law immunity because it cares more about a murder case than a drug deal. That should surprise nobody. Kouri Richins chose common law in part because she had control over her. She could help her out. She employed her to some measure. She could help her out. A little quid pro quo. You give me some drugs, I can help you out with your drug court. Kouri Richins chose common law, not me. Her testimony is corroborated. If you only believe Carmen Lauber's testimony that is corroborated, that is plenty of proof to convict. She was only at that Maverick in Draper 3 times. That's what the digital evidence shows. Each of the 3 times she was there, so was Robert Crozier. Those were the only 3 times he was there. Their testimony corroborates each other in the relevant matter. It corroborates that they met, that he sold her drugs, illicit street drugs, that it had fentanyl. Blues had fentanyl. Corroborates that they weren't prescription drugs. He got them from a plug, not a pharmacy. They were packaged in a little clear baggie, not a prescription bottle. All the testimony of Carmen Lauber and Robert Crozier that matters corroborates each other.
So with these transactions, when Carmen
go ahead, we've seen this one again. Crozier was at the gas station 3 times. Carmen Lauber was there every time. The March drug deal. Timing of this is very interesting. Shortly after Eric's death, Carmen Lauber spoke with Kouri Richins and asked, "Please tell me these pills were not for him." Of course she denied it. No. But then, a few days later, she asked for more pills. It's curious as to why. Perhaps to cover up that the pills were indeed for Eric. If I ask for more, she'll know they weren't for Eric.
And Michael, I don't know if you could see that, but what she said, Kouri Richins said when she was asked, were these pills, please tell me they weren't for him. No, he died of a brain aneurysm.
Right.
Aneurysm. So, I mean, she just lied. You know, one's a brain aneurysm, one is lung disease, one is COVID, one is whatever. And they said, well, she never said anything about fentanyl. She could have said that right off the bat. No, she couldn't have. She said right off the bat.
She would have been the only one that knew about it.
Right.
And I remember that phone call still to me was one of the most damaging that I've heard. And that was when she was cussing about, you can't say he died of COVID. He'd roll over in his grave. And she was just, every other word was laden with sailor speak. Hey, the jury has done their thing for the day. They're done after 2 hours.
Done for the day? Okay,
Yeah,
so we're not going to
they've been released.
Our chat would like you to put up a poll, guilty, not guilty.
I just did that, by the
Oh,
way.
you did? Okay, so
that.
we should do that. One of the things I would also wanted to talk about was this whole thing. I thought he was brilliant with Bloodsworth. Again, he has grown on me, and I really, he was just fabulous, I thought, in his closing, except for the beginning. I would have liked a little less wordy and to start with. But he put up a time clock from the time Kouri Richins, and that was in his, I'm going to stop sharing this right now. A time clock from the time Kouri Richins called 911, right? And what it was is it was like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Oh, I can't touch him. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, and it kept showing time ticking, 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 ticking away. And finally, when she finally does start CPR, it's almost 6 minutes. And of course, all the literature says you have to start CPR, you know, before that 6 minute mark, or else you don't have a chance in hell of reviving anyone, which I'm sure she had read. Okay. And then she called her husband and it. That, I'm sure, did not go over well. And also, when you do CPR, and you know, it's hard work. Okay,
Yeah,
anyone who's taken the course,
it's very hard work. Yes, yeah,
right. You're breaking bones, and you're breaking the breastplate,
and you don't stop.
And you don't stop, and you're exhausted.
Sheila Duffy, there's a poll. I'm looking at it, and so far it's 68% guilty, 4% not guilty, 28% hung jury.
Interesting, because I'm a defense attorney. I'm of the prosecution proved guilty beyond a reasonable doubt with just that one text. I'm like over it. Motive means
one says, this is one comment, I think she's completely set up by Eric's family.
Well, that was always the issue about clearly they didn't like her. But look, if you thought that your brother was murdered by his wife to get his money, you wouldn't like her very much either.
Unbelievable how cruel they are to her, including the business partner who goes to the following day to pick up his work truck and his computers. That's just one person's opinion. It goes on and on, actually. But yeah, so now it's guilty is up to 72%. So yeah, it's out there. It's up there.
I just wanted,
community tab, I think, is where it is. Yeah.
So before we go with that, we forgot to put up something earlier. This is from Strange Credulity. Remember, for 6 months, on Kelsey, they must allow evidence negative to Justin. I'm sorry, we forgot to put that up. Going back to KOURI, and also I thought the other thing he did great was, you know, that whole widow picture that the defense has been using. You know, he said that this is not a storybook tale. This is you know, this is not a fable. This is a real life situation.
This is life and death. This is a real person. Yeah,
real person, right? And I thought he did that great. You know, so
he had. Let's face it, we would love to have that much to work with, as much as he had to work with.
And I'd love to have him on the show when he finishes. I hope that we can make a call and get him on.
Yeah, sometimes the
no matter what,
servants are not very available.
Right,
but
right. Well, because it's going to be an appeal
from asking. Well, yeah, and you know, just quite often the policy of these government offices is not to be out there.
Yeah,
and some of them charge money, but don't get me started on that again.
That's that. One day you're going to be doing something on that, and
one day
I know the case.
I've learned nothing to suggest that I was wrong from the beginning. I'll put it that way.
All right, and you don't know the case he's talking about, but some of you may guess as you go back on some of our streams, which you can do. We have over 1,000 videos posted on Justice Served TV. We have a number of them on KOURI. There has to be about 15 of them at least now. We have over 40 on Kelsey, plenty on Karen Reed. You know, we've had the amount of subject matter we've covered in the past year and a half that we've been doing this, for almost a year and a half that we've been doing this, is wide ranging. And that's why we decided to go out on our own, and so we could have these discussions and chats without having an overlord. And we kind of
now we have the YouTube overlords.
Now we have a YouTube overlord, but at least we, you know, if you all if we all do it at once, all of you who are in the chat at once or watching, just hit that like button. Even if you don't like us, just hit that like button. Pretend you want to get on a jury.
I don't know if I can do this because I'm tethered with this other computer, but people saying, I don't see the poll. Trust me, it's there.
I can't see your screen.
I know you can't see it on the screen. But yeah, it's there. It's on our community page. So
okay, let me go look to. Usually there's a
77% now guilty. It says. So. But I'm surprised that many people think there might be a hung.
Yeah, and I remember that picture I showed you before under posts. Okay, there it is. As a matter of fact, I think I have the link to the post page. I can put it in the chat.
That would be great.
I can put the link to the whole post page, and then you can go there, and it's the top thing on the community page. Besides what's on your mind, it says KOURI Richins will be found guilty, not guilty, hung jury, mistrial. So, and how long will the jury deliberate? You know, now because we're past 2 hours, we're 13% say 3 hours, 79% say 4 hours or more. And as I said, the guilty, not guilty has started. You're up to 76% guilty, 6 not guilty, 18% hung jury. Now remember, the defense only needs one. Defense only needs
of the eight.
Of the eight, defense only needs one. I think it's hard. It's easier to get a conviction when you're not dealing with 12. But anyhow, right now, what I'd all like you to do to get us into that YouTube algorithm, just hit like. Everyone watching, hit like. That would give us like almost 900 likes right now. 900, wow. And that would, like, you know, really hopefully then push us out. So, you know, we have our mods here who are doing a great job, and all of you keep coming back. And you know, Sheila Duffy may get a couple in some year. And Judge Mahar is going to be getting more work to do.
Info from that from a source in Ireland, so I have it on my list, my to-do list here.
Yeah, and then tomorrow night we're going to be going through with Michael Dexior the salacious and incredible, whoa, put it to you, Karen Reed amended complaint. Can't wait to do that with all of you watching line by line with our voice actor Michael Bryant in a starring role as 50 complaint.
Pages of fun. I'm looking at the reporting to see if there's a time that they're going to start tomorrow. In the absence of that, I believe the Richins jury will be back at 8:30 their time. I would imagine the judge is going to stick pretty much to his normal schedule.
And right, we should have, I think we're going to have a verdict tomorrow, but you know,
lunchtime, before lunch, before their lunch,
after lunch,
after lunch. They're gonna chew on it. Were they providing? And maybe I'm confusing this with another recent trial. One of them, they were giving the jurors lunch every day.
Yeah, I think this was it.
Was that this case? Yeah, because I kept hearing them talk about is the lunch here? Is the lunch here? Are we too early? You know, so I thought that's great because very few courts or counties do that.
In a murder trial.
Only during deliberation.
Yeah, only during deliberations and in a murder trial generally, you know. And then, of course, we have, somebody says the Adelson trial, George Mahar remembered. Yes, he was a great judge too. And then Wednesday, of course, we have our devoted to, unless there's a verdict with KOURI, which we will announce, okay? And we have our devoted to Kelsey Day with the first appearance on Justice Served TV by Judge Ashley Wilcott, and Tracy Poles will also be on with regard to the internet case. So we have a busy week, and Thursday we're working on something right now. Okay, we're working on something.
And then obviously next week we'll be in Lawrence, and it's a real crapshoot now. You know, we thought, okay, 3 days, maybe 4. Now, again, assuming they're going to pick a jury, you know, we'll go up there, and I'm definitely going to stay the first couple of days, assuming the jury will be chosen in that time frame. But it's going to be very rubbery after that as to expanding, or because the judge, I could see him saying, if they have a jury Wednesday, he may say, okay, see you all Monday.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I want to give you some good news on Tubi, since I started out, that the additional thyroid testing came back, and that that was the additional one was pretty negative, even though his T1 was low. So that she's going to check him in 3 or 4 months. Even at it's lower, it's in the lower half of the normal range. But we can go ahead with this teeth cleaning, because the 2 other tests that would really show that there's a real problem. We may be catching something that's just in the beginning, but he's okay. And the reason why you have to do this is because as your metabolism slows, if you're under anesthesia, and he has to be under anesthesia for his first teeth floating, as they call it in horse talk, okay, you know, they don't want you to die because your breathing has slowed.
Right. Well, that's good. That's good news.
So Tubi, if we have a Tubi media asset here, there you go. We're not to leave Domino out of this. There's Domino, and because we love them both, there they are. They are the stars of the show.
All right, so we got a work cut out for us for the rest of the week. Check out our polls. We'll see how that looks after it's had a little time to marinate, as the jury is marinating tonight, all 8 of them. 2 hours under their belt. They picked the 4-person, and you know, now they're going through stuff. So
they're going through stuff. So we will see you, to be or not to be, will be tomorrow. Well, we will be here on Justice Served TV. But hit that subscribe, like, share, notify, and the hype button, which has to be done on either your phone or your iPad after the show ends.
After the replay, yeah. And so I guess you know, I got to wear my shirt tomorrow. So, okay. Have a great evening, everybody. Good to have you along. We appreciate your time and your support. And please try to do the right thing.